Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Futurama Season 2, Episode 6 of my show, which is also going to be about Episode 6. Now, Episode 6 in the second season of Futurama is known as Brannigan Begin Again. Now, basically, as the name of this episode states, it's gonna feature Zapp Brannigan in this episode. Hold on. I better turn the TV down. I should have turned it down before I started. Hold on, guys. I'm just gonna. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm just downloading a game off of PS Now, which is Injustice 2, and I didn't want there to be any noise in the background while I was talking, so I turned the volume down for the download. So if you saw that in the video, I completely apologize about that. But anyway, as I was stating, this episode is going to feature Zapp Brannigan, and basically, now I'm going to outline a bit of the storyline of this episode, because actually, I'll start talking about the actual episode and then I'll explain why he plays a part in this. Basically, the way this episode starts off is the professor basically sends Fry, Bender, and Leela on a mission to deliver basically, it starts first off at the Planet Express office, and then basically, Farnsworth, tells the crew that, like, good news, everyone! Well, he tells them that today they'll be making a delivery to the Democratic Order, like he said, to the Democratic Order of Planets, which in this series it's the name of the organization, but the acronym for it is called Doop. And Fry wonders why it's called that. And then basically, this is the funny thing, because basically there's sort of a Star Trek reference in this series. Well, in 2 episodes in this series, I know there's definitely a Star Trek reference, and well, there's a couple of actually Star Trek references in some of the episodes. Like in one of the videos I did previously, there was a Star Trek reference, and there is a Star Trek reference in this one. And there's actually, if I'm remembering correctly about the series, there's also an episode that sort of features the Planet Express crew and the cast of the original Star Trek, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, but anyway, basically, when Fry sees that the package that they're delivering is for the Doop headquarters, Fry asks what that is, and then basically, the professor tells Fry that it's sort of like the United Nations from his time, but he's stupid, so he doesn't, well, it's not that he's stupid, like, he's dumb, so he doesn't really know what the United Nations is. So Hermes said that it's more like, or it's like the Federation from his Star Trek program. And then the delivery that they're making for them is a package for the Doop because the Doop is unveiling its new headquarters. And the package is basically a package containing scissors. Now the reason why there is scissors is because it's a ribbon cutting ceremony for the new Doop headquarters in this episode, which I will explain what's gonna happen with it, because I just wanted to I just wanted to explain what the scissors were for first. So basically, Leela, Fry, and Bender go on their ship to where the new Doop headquarters is to drop off the package of scissors. And while they're dropping off the package, first what happens is, before they deliver the package to Zapp, the new Doop headquarters is welcoming many people from many different planets, and Zapp is getting annoyed, not with the other members of the Doop, but with basically the neutral, members of the Doop headquarters. Now, what I mean by neutral is, there are members of Doop that are from a planet that remains, that's all about being neutral, like whether someone is whether they trust someone or not is, they say that their gut is maybe, which is in between. So anyway, basically, Brannigan is telling Kip that he hates neutrals. With enemies, and his reason and logic for hating neutrals is actually, in my opinion, it's sort of understandable. Now, I'm going to explain what I mean, because he says that with enemies, you know where they stand, but with neutrals, you never know, which is technically, personally, in retrospect, it is understandable why he would think that, because it's because of that, really, which makes sense, because if someone's neutral, you don't know, which means they're in between sides, so you don't know exactly what side they're on, if they're allies or enemies and stuff. So, I guess in this case, that line of thinking does sort of make sense. But anyway, Leela and Bender and Fry go to deliver the package of scissors, and they bring the scissors to Zapp, and they show, Leela tells Zapp that they're here to deliver the package of scissors to him, but then Zapp basically says that Zapp basically decides to put Fry, Bender, and Leela under arrest for that, but they're wondering what for. And then, the reason why Zapp's putting them under arrest is because of suspicion, because he doesn't know what the scissors are for. Because what if someone got hurt by the scissors, by the giant pair of scissors, which is true, because with scissors you never know what someone is capable of with it. So in this case, it kind of makes sense. But the real reason why they're bringing it there is actually just so that it can be used for the ribbon cutting. So in this case, it's Zapp overreacting. Although in this case, it's an understandable overreaction, at least from my point of view anyway. Anyway, after that, Leela said that the scissors aren't even sharp. And who could she hurt with them? And then Zapp basically says that, and he points to one of the aliens that are on the new Doop headquarters for the ribbon cutting ceremony, which is the yarn people of the planet, which is known as Nylar 4. And after he said that basically, it's a plan of theirs to destroy alien species, because it's like, oh my god, how neutral. So he places them under arrest and brings them to the Nimbus ship. But the irony of it is, when he brings them there, it's also when he's supposed to be cutting the ribbon for the new Doop headquarters. And that was the actual reason why the scissors were brought, was because the scissors were brought because it was meant to be used for the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new Doop headquarters. But when Zapp took them in, he took them back to the Nimbus, and then so when they So when the aliens on the ship, on the station, noticed he was gone, they didn't know he was gone. And then Kif said that Zapp was supposed to be cutting the ribbon for the new Doop headquarters. And then Zapp said that it doesn't matter. He's like, no matter. I'll just cut it from here using the ship's laser. Now, in this case, I don't think him using the laser to cut the ribbon was a bad idea. Well, I'm sort of like 50-50 on it. The reason why I say 50-50 is because when I watched this episode on Disney Plus, oh my god, I don't deny that him using the laser to cut the ribbon for the new Doop headquarters was okay. But the problem that I had with it, that I also found kind of funny when I watched it, is he pulled the lever on it for the level for the laser's power to be set at down to one of his more dangerous levels. So when it cut the ribbon with the laser, it also caused the building to explode. And so maybe he should have just kept it in the middle between when it was not like at the bottom, like somewhere at the top, but in between the top and the middle, in between the top and the bottom. That way the new Doop headquarters wouldn't have exploded. That's just my opinion about it. But if anyone's seen that episode and you think that as well, just let me know in the comments about that anyway. And basically what happens is, after that, they're back at the former Doop headquarters, the old one before the new one got blown up. The old one that they were in before they would have been in the new Doop headquarters before Zapp blew it up during the unveiling ceremony. And they're putting him on trial for blowing up Doop headquarters. But Zapp Brannigan is saying that when the judges there at the old Doop headquarters is saying that he's charged with the crime of blowing up Doop headquarters, and how does he plead? And he says absolutely 100% not guilty, which is a lie, because he is guilty, because he did blow it up. And then basically, the attorney, which is basically a hyper chicken, like, lawyer creature, he acts as the prosecution, as the defendant for Zapp Brannigan, like the defending lawyer and stuff. And then he basically, well, actually, it's more like the prosecution thing, I think. But anyway, he asks the members of the jury if they know who blew up Doop headquarters, and they point to Zapp, which is true, because he did blow it up. And then basically the alien that's serving as the judge in this episode hangs on the gavel too, because the hyper chicken is basically disregarding his own testimony and stuff. But then like I said, the alien judge is saying that the evidence against Zapp Brannigan is damaging. However, given his extensive history with the Doop and his established military career, she decides to drop the charges. But Leela then kind of contradicts her when the judge decides to drop the charges because of what Zapp has done before he blew up the station. And she says that basically she knows that the judge has already made a decision, but she wants to take the stand and stuff. And then the judge says that she will allow this, and then basically the hyper chicken lawyer is asking Leela if on the night in question was she not in like a hoop skirt, I think, and then she said that's a dumb question. The fact is, and she said that the fact is that Zapp Bender is the person who blew up Doop headquarters, and she saw him do it with her own eye, which is true because he's a Cyclops, and Cyclops like alien, of course, and Cyclops are beings in Greek mythology that only have one eye, basically. And that's actually going to play a hand in another episode under different circumstances, but I just wanted to get that out of the way. And then basically the judge is asking the jury to deliberate on the verdict. So the jury basically goes into one room to deliberate, and they come out in another room with their verdict, and then the slug, and one of the jury members of the Doop, that's like a slug-like creature from one of the previous episodes, but I think it's a member of the Doop in this case. He said that, "Your Honor, we have reached a verdict. We find the defendant guilty." And then basically, what happens is, the judge basically tells Zapp Bender that because of the jury's verdict, he is hereby discharged from the Doop. So he's basically discharged, in this case in military terms means he's fired. And then he says that he wants to make one final statement. And then he asks, like he's just wanting to give a couple words, and he basically he's wanting Kip to come there and wave the flag and stuff. But what happens is, after he says some of the stuff that he's supposed to say as a sort of speech, he tries to shift some of the blame for what happened on Kip, because he's like, plus it was mostly Kip's fault, which it wasn't. It was actually entirely his fault, but he's shifting the blame. Like he's placing the blame on someone who had nothing to do with it. And then the judge basically tells Kip Croker that he is also stripped his rank and dishonorably discharged. And then Kip gets upset about that, and then after that, what happens is, in the next scene, basically, Brannigan is leaving the old Doop headquarters, and he's like, one day a man has everything. The next day he blows up $1 billion space station, and then he has nothing. And then he basically is telling Kip that it's time for them to begin their lives as civilians. And then he's still giving Kip orders, because he's like, that's an order, soldier. And then basically it does this montage where they're on the streets, and then after the montage they end up at the Planet Express building, and when they're at the Planet Express building, what happens is they ring the doorbell, and Leela answers it, and then Zapp tells Leela that he didn't know where else to turn. She was the only one that ever loved him, and then she said that she never loved him, and then basically he said physically, and then basically she goes to close the door on them, and then basically Farnsworth wonders who she's talking to at the door, and then basically Zapp is saying that just a broken down old Lobo who's hit rock bottom and is commanding officer. And then when Farnsworth sees them, he's like, "Why, you're the disgraced starship captain. having him on. So he basically brings them on board the Planet Express team mainly because, as a legal thing, because he figures that having them on their crew would prevent them from being reported for any of those violations that he's been getting. And then basically he's saying that he wants to welcome new employees, and he's wondering which ones are new. And then Hermes basically says that it's the green dude and the fat man, and by the fat man in this case he means Zapp. And then, but the professor also says that he swears he hasn't seen that robot before, which is he just has a lapse in memory, like he doesn't know that he already does know Bender. It's a common thing with old people. They sometimes forget. Anyway, even when they have, like, I think, dementia and stuff, they tend to forget sometimes. But then Bender explains that he's Bender's a lovable rascal, and then, after that, Farnsworth says that whoever they are, he's got good news. And the news that he has for them to do is to deliver a package to a planet known as Strumbos 4. Now what Strumbos 4 is, as it's stated by Professor Farnsworth, it's a planet with such high, dense gravity that they'll be crushed under the weight of their own hair. And then basically, they go to deliver, that's actually the funny thing. I'm just gonna backtrack here to when they were cleaning the ship, because that's what Bender and Fry were doing at this point. And then, after they, because they were cleaning up, but then they started a hose fight, and then Leela had to stop them, and then basically, because she was asking them to scrub that ship, and apparently in the episode, it was the third or fourth hose fight that they'd broken up, and getting one with actual hoses, and then basically she's telling, like I said, she tells them to get back to cleaning the ship, and then Fry tells Leela that, Bender tells Leela that Fry actually cleaned some of the dirt off with his finger, which is just him drawing a picture with the yakety yak thing. Now, I'm just backtracking to that because that was before Zapp showed up and stuff, and now I'm just gonna get into the part where they're entering the planet Strumbos 4's atmosphere. And the package that they're delivering is basically just some pillows to a hotel that's on the planet. And basically Bender says that the pillows don't weigh as much as he thought, and then basically Leela says that the pillows don't weigh much because inside the ship it has an anti-gravity pump which makes them light on the ship, but once they get on the planet they'll be so heavy that if they do all the pillows at once, the pressure will be so heavy that it'll crush the dolly. So basically she said that basically, I'm also gonna get back to this segment with Zapp and the crew, because basically what was happening while they were before they arrived at Strumbos 4, there was a little bit of dialogue between Zapp and Bender and Fry, and then Zapp made a pact with him that he ever entered any type of pinching and stuff, he'd take the fall for them, and basically Kif is. I'm just backtracking here because I'm kind of skipping ahead towards close to the end of the episode anyway. But anyway, Kif is telling Leela about the direction that the course that they're on to head for the planet, and then Kif did a good job and nice work, and then Kif gets upset because he thinks that she got upset about what he did, but then he's surprised that she said good work. And then he checks with her again what she said, and then she said that really nice work, and then he starts to cry happily about it. The reason why is because no one's ever thanked him for doing a positive job, or had to have him do some kind of demeaning task and everything. Like that, and I'll explain what I mean by that when I get there. But anyway. Getting back into what I was saying earlier when they arrived on the planet, Leela told them to basically deliver one of the pillows at a time because of the gravity, the high density of the intense density and gravity of the planet. If they were to use all of the pillows at once, the dolly would break. So basically, Fry and Bender, in this case, being stupid as they are, they say that they'll use the dolly to deliver all the pillows at once, and then they go to deliver all the pillows using the dolly, but then when they use the dolly and bring it to the with all the pillows on it, they because of the planet's high density, it causes the dolly to break, and then they start breaking down, and then Fry gets crushed under the weight of his own hair. Bender's legs sort of become like scraps, and then Zapp is trying to stop himself from being affected by the planet's high gravity, because he's like, come on, girdle, hold, but then his girdle actually snaps. And then basically what happens is after that, Leela's wondering with them what happened, and then Bender's like, some breaking occurred, the dolly was involved, that's about all we know. And then she says that she told them to bring one pillow because each of those pillows combined weighs 150 pounds here, and then basically Fry said that no worries, they'll just use the backup dolly, and then basically, but Leela forbids them from using it because they disobeyed a direct order, so she has them deliver each of the pillows by hand. And then Zapp basically explains, and then Zapp basically, Bender's like, I'm Leela. After Leela tells them to get to work, because after Leela tried to dodge his question about the girdle and stuff, and then, and it was like, I'm leaning into it, and then basically what happens is, after that, Kif is talking with Leela on the ship and explaining that the point is for him that it was such infuriating to work for Zapp because, and he using an example where he mentions that once Zapp, apparently as an embarrassing incident, Zapp actually ordered him once to shave his armpits while he ordered Kif to shave his armpits while Zapp was in a tub, and basically Leela gets annoyed by that, and she's saying that why don't they talk about something other than Zapp for a while, and then Kip tries to figure out stuff to say, and then basically he gets back to the story he was telling, and then basically goes back to where Bender, Zapp, and Fry are, and they're delivering pillows by hand, still being affected by the planet. Then it starts to rain, and then Fry gets a little ecstatic about that. He's like, some good old high gravity rain. That'll cool us off. But the rain on the planet is actually the same density as the planet itself, so when the raindrops hit them, it actually starts hurting them. And they start hiding under a rock, and then Zapp, Fry, and Bender start hiding under a cave in the planet to protect themselves from the rain, and then basically Bender gets upset and blames Leela for this, and then Fry agrees with him because if Leela would have just let them use the backup dolly, they could have just broken it, given up, and gone back home by now. And then basically, after hearing what Zapp would do when he was captain, and then basically they decide to basically perform a mutiny, and then basically that's when Kip's finishing his story, and he says that basically now Zapp's not captain anymore, he's free. And then that's when that's when Bender, Fry, and Zapp come in with the mutiny, and then they leave Leela under arrest and make Zapp the new captain of the ship. And then basically what happens is after that, Zapp tells Leela that she may be a formidable woman, but he's placing her under arrest, and then basically she's wondering on what grounds, and then he says that it's failure to prevent a mutiny, and then what happens is after that, Zapp's wanting them to put her in the brig, but then Fry says that they don't have a brig, and then he said that they can put her in the laundry room, which shall hereafter be referred to as the brig. And then basically what happens is when they bring her to the laundry room, which afterward is supposed to be called the brig, she's asking them that they really don't want her to be captain anymore. But didn't she do a good job? And then Fry tells her that Leela was mean, and she yelled, and she made them do all that work, and then basically he mentioned, because that's what Fry said, and then Leela mentions that sometimes the captain has to do that, and then basically, now that's going to be kind of ironic because of what's going to happen at the end of the episode. I'm going to explain about that later. But anyway, she mentions that besides she thought they were friends, and then basically Fry said that she should have been a better, shouldn't have been such a mean captain then, and then basically what happens is they leave the brig, the laundry room, which is also known as the brig for the remainder of the episode, as well as still the laundry room. And then basically what happens is after that, Bender tells Leela that they'll soon be able to look back on this and laugh, and then he looks back and starts laughing. And then, looks back and starts laughing, which is kind of with the sort of the same type of laugh that he had in the previous video I did. And then basically what happens is Zapp gets back into his old uniform, and after he gets back into it, Kip's wondering what he should do with Zapp's civilian clothes, and he said that put them in the laundry brig, and then basically he's wondering if Fry and Bender will be able to follow his orders without question, and they say to the ends of the earth, and so on and so forth. And he said that that's not good enough. He orders them to drink beer until they're as loyal as Kip, so they start drinking, and that's when Kip comes back, and then Kip's saying he has Zapp if he can have a beer too, but Zapp says no, he's already loyal enough. And then basically they enact this plan to basically destroy, not destroy the old Doop headquarters, but to basically destroy, to launch an attack on the neutral planet. And then basically what happens is Zapp says that in the name of all that is good and honorable, they'll basically trick the neutrals with an offer of peace and then plunge the ship into the planet, causing it to explode. And then he's telling them to wave the white flag of war. And then basically afterward, what happens is they make the video call up to the neutral president's capital and to the neutral capital, and then basically after making that, one of the ambassadors for the neutral planet is asking the president of the neutral planet if they can trust them, and then the neutral president basically says that all he knows is his gut says maybe, and then basically and then Fry basically says what's going to be happening with, like, he makes these sound effects to say what's happening, and then he mentions, well, because that's what happened before they made the call, and then basically, Zapp tells them that the plan now is to plunge the ship into the neutral planet, causing it to be destroyed on impact, and while he escapes from the planet unscathed, and then Fry and Bender, well, because they're wondering what their part in the plan is, and then Zapp mentions to them what their part in the plan is, which is basically them being on the ship to cause the planet, on the ship to remain on the ship so that the ship crashes into the planet and he gets away in the space suit. And then basically when Fry hears that, he says that basically he wonders, is this plan gonna kill them? And then Zapp says that what did Fry think they meant when he said loyalty? And then basically he's asking them to help him into the only spacesuit, and he's said that it's a little tight in there, so they might want to use some baby powder. And then basically Fry and Bender go back to where Leela is in the laundry break, and then there's Fry's saying that they want Leela to be captain again, and then basically Leela wonders why they want him to be captain again. Did Zapp cancel break time? And they shake their head no, and then he said he ran out of beer, and then they shake their head no again, and then Leela comes to the third answer, which is basically that he's gonna kill them, which is true, so they nod their head yes. And then Fry shows back up and says that basically they want Leela to be captain again, and then basically Zapp says the mutiny, and then basically Zapp tells Kip that he can come with them, and he found a spacesuit that's a child-sized spacesuit that could fit him, but Kip says that he wants to stay because he actually likes Captain Leela because she actually listens to what he has to say, and then but Leela helps Zapp put the child-sized spacesuit on Kip so that they can escape, and then they try to then she tries to use the ship to steer it away from the planet so it doesn't explode, but the steering's locked, and then basically Fry is saying that he saved them and herself, and he says and Fry, but then yeah, because Fry got annoyed by what he by what he mentioned when he said that save him and her, he guesses, and Fry, and then she told them that they have one chance, and she says that are they willing to do what she asks, and then even if they make her work, even if she makes them work, and then they say that they do, and then basically she tells them to basically go get the hover dolly that they didn't break and load all the dark matter into the left, I think either the left or the right, I can't remember, but it's the left or the right engine, and then basically then Bender gets a little annoyed by like that because he's like, oh man, that crap's heavy, and then she's telling them to just do it, and then right as the ship's crashing into the planet, she's telling them to hurry over a video call because she's saying that she doesn't want to die at the age of 25, and then basically Bender sort of makes a joke about that where he says, honey, unless we hit a time warp, I wouldn't be afraid of it. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't worry about it. And then they managed to put the dark matter into the engine that hadn't stalled, and then basically they caused it to get away from the planet, and then which causes it. And well, I'm just gonna backtrack again to the part where the ship was on fire and it was crashing into the planet, because basically what happens is, after that, what happened is, the neutral president's assistant is saying that it's a beige alert, and then he says that if he doesn't survive this, tell his wife hello, and then basically, I'm just backtracking to that part, and then that leads into the part where they managed to save the neutral planet by stopping the ship from crashing into it, and then Zapp makes up this story about how he saved it, which is not actually true, but then the judge asks Leela if this magical story of his is true, and then she says, well, and then Farnsworth gets a little excited about that, because if the Doop doesn't take him back, they can just keep him as the captain, and then because of that, Leela says that it is true. Zapp's cat-like reflexes, her female incompetence, and the stuff that makes no sense, all of it, and then basically, because of that, the judge reinstates Zapp Brannigan's rank and gives him back his parking privileges, and then they're cheering about that, and then basically, the professor gets upset about that, and then, basically, Zapp is telling Kip to come because they have work to do, and then Kip gets annoyed by that, and he says that he'll call Leela and tell her about it. And then basically what happens is, when they're back in the Planet Express building, Fry is telling Leela that even though she's the best captain they had, and then Bender's agreeing with him with Fry about that, and he said that, can they have time off? And then she says no, and then they say please, and then she says that okay, yes, but then this also leads into the funny ending I was thinking about, because she agrees to let them have time off, but then Farnsworth's like, no time off, and then they get annoyed by that, and then they say that they want a mutiny against the professor and stuff, and that's basically where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, just please give this video the real best you guys can, and we'll see you guys next time for the next part, and until then, like I always tell you with this series, just please give this video the real best you guys can, and I'll see you guys next time, for the next video, and like I always tell you with this series, fun on a bun!